because
All right,
when
let's try
you
this
have your
again.
own career, you obviously make money if you're successful. Money equals freedom, so you can do whatever you want.
But to Pearl's point, let's say you're that
I think
45-year-old woman, successful, millionaire, amazing
Okay.
house, couple cats running around. Shout out to the cat owners out there. But would that
Cats.
I
be
don't.
fulfilling if you never got married and didn't have
I
kids?
I don't think that you can't be successful and have a husband or a boyfriend or whatever. I don't think it's either or.
You can do both, is what
Yes.
you're saying.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I see it right now. Like me and my boyfriend, we both work literally 24/7. and do 3K for something else.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like tit for tat. So like he pays rent, but maybe I'm going to spend the same amount of money for something else.
So it's more like 50-50.
It's not 50-50 because that's just not how I was brought up, and that's not how I was raised.
Okay, what would you say? It's like 80-20?
Maybe 70-30.
70-30, okay.
So it sounds like the woman who's talking about the lady who I don't know what kind of career she has. I wasn't really paying attention. So the two girls on the right, they're the ones that are more of like the submissive kind of. They're more traditional in the sense, and the girl, her, she's the one who's more of the modern, like, working woman. And it was kind of interesting because she was first initially saying that they split everything. That's like a partnership 50-50, but now it's coming down to like 70-30, like, you know, because he pays the rent, which is, let's say, $5K from what her words were, and then she'll pay like $2,000 or $3,000. So kind of like a 70-30 type of thing. I find it really interesting because the girl, the white girl, I think, or Pearl, the one with the red hair, she said, well, what does he get in return for him paying majority of the bills, like kind of taking more of the bulk? And she didn't answer, and maybe it was just more of a private, personal thing. I don't know. But I find that really interesting because the videos I've seen online, which I'm not saying this is a lot of women at all or a majority of women, just the videos I've seen personally and people talking to and stuff like that, it seems like when that question comes, like, what does the man get in return for, you know, doing X, Y, and Z? I don't tend to hear an answer. I mean, she had to answer for everything else, roughly. But I kind of find it interesting that there was like I'm not going to tell you what I do. It's kind of private, personal matters. But you'll tell how much you do in these other areas that aren't really equating up to what the guy was doing. So I'm not saying there's a problem with it. I just find it interesting that she wasn't willing to answer that particular question. But let's continue.
Is that a fair split?
I find that a little interesting because she was saying, like, you know, I don't want to be I don't want to have a guy like pretty much kicking me out of the house and whatnot, and, you know, which I can understand. But then when you work a job, you risk the same thing of getting fired. So, I mean, if you're working for somebody, another guy or woman, whoever, anyways, you risk that chance of getting fired the same way you would if you were living with a person. It just seems like a little less risky. I mean, I guess in some ways it's more risky, in some ways it's not as risky. Because say you're working a job and it's based on your skills and merit and blah, 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 and if you don't perform, you get fired and you lose your income, which in turn you'll end up losing your house if you don't get, you know, a steady job back. But in a marriage, if you get fired, you get divorced, and, you know, you still get paid. You still, as a woman, and some men too, but typically speaking, generally speaking, The woman will sometimes will get alimony or child support, whatever the case is, and get paid off almost like a severance package. So, and yeah, they can say get out their house. That's totally fine. That's totally possible. That would happen if you were at a job and you got fired and your rent was coming up and you couldn't afford it. It would be the same thing. So, I don't know how I feel. There's another video up here. Let's just watch this really quick because looks like this is 13 minutes. Let's see this one. This same girl.
Ricky Bobby, $10.
Ricky Bobby.
Ricky Bobby. He says, Coco, I can retire you today.
them astray. It's going to be a dark time, I think, for millennial and Gen Z women when they realize they didn't invest their money. Because most women aren't in your position, by the way. Like, most women are average income earners. So they didn't invest any money. They didn't get a relationship. And maybe they have kids. Like, that's great. But, I mean, having children by your side on your deathbed is not the same thing as, like, having your husband there. Your kids can't replace a man. And I think earlier you mentioned that you would lessen your workload for a child, but you said you wouldn't lessen your workload for a man. And so that would be
why would he ask me to lessen my workload? Like, what would he? I'm actually curious, like, what you have to say. Like, so let's say what would he want me, like, not to work so I can just do what?
No, I can tell you. So, what I've witnessed from men who ever ask their women to work less, and I know a lot of established military men with their wives and things like that, is because the woman has so much stress from her job, she's bringing it home, and it's making the entire household unhappy. So they're saying, take time away from that. Why don't you find something else? And that's not to say that you couldn't start your own small business from home. I mean, Coco's not going to stay home and, like, only make pancakes and eggs. Like, she's going to do something else.
She's not that type of woman.
But that's normally what I've seen why men say, you need to quit your job. Like, the ROI on this is absolutely trash. You're not even really financially contributing.
I agree.
I guess I would say I agree. That makes sense because, you know, the women dynamics in a household is very powerful. Let's say I'm married. It's very powerful. It's very potent. And, you know, it would make sense if my wife is going to a stressful job. I would rather her take time off from the job so that she's in a better mood more often than let her work as much and bring the stress home. For me personally, it's a no-brainer. Like, no, just don't work. I'd rather work more and you work less so when I come home, there's more peace. That, to me, that's a no-brainer. It's like not even a question. Like, if you can't handle the job and it's too stressful, just stay at home. I'll make more money, and we'll figure this out. And boom, that's me personally. Let's see what the other lady has to say, though. I'm kind of curious.
I agree with that, but, like, I work for myself, so that I do what I want to do. Like, if I want to start a podcast, I do it because I want to do it. I used to work for other people, and that also didn't work for me.
But you could still overwork, and it eclipses your relationship, and it becomes a problem.
Okay,
And
but
so-
that's like a work-life balance. I
Yeah,
feel like.
absolutely. And that's what most of that conversation is about, is women have a hard time juggling. I want to say in the West, like, women are expected to do all of these things. And my message is, well, just pick a couple of things. You don't need the whole thing. You're expected to have a libido, stay physically fit, attractive, and then you have to cook, clean, you have to raise kids, and you have to be that female role in a relationship. I think that's too much.
I could do all of that.
You think it's
You won't be sleeping a
Oh.
lot. If you're okay with a 4-hour sleep, then you're good.
I'll have a
But-
night nurse.
Go ahead, Pro.
But also, like, I grew up in the family that, like, had everything. Like, the 1% family. It comes with trade-offs. My dad worked 80 hours a week my whole life. I barely saw him.
Yeah, that's.
I didn't really get to know him until I was older. You can't have everything. Something is going to give. So if you have a family and you want to work that much, it is going to impact your relationship with your children and your husband. Like, you can't have everything.
That's
And,
a good point she brings up, because even if the guy is a high earner, you know, they are putting in, 60, 70, 80 hours a week, which you think about it, it's like, if you're doing 80 hours a week, that's like 8 10-hour days, or 12, 24. That's 12-hour days every day. Let's just break that. Literally 12-hour days every day. So, there definitely is sacrifices, and you're gonna have to sacrifice whether you're in a relationship or not. You're gonna make sacrifices for your dreams. You're gonna make sacrifices for your goals, and if you don't do it, then you sacrifice your dreams for what you want to do now. And if you sacrifice for your dreams, then you sacrifice what you want to do for your dreams. And I guess in a relationship, it's kind of the same way. You know, you sacrifice the things that you want to do for the greater good of your relationship, and that should go both ways. And sometimes the men will sacrifice their time with their family to provide a lifestyle that their family wants. And unfortunately, they don't get to see it. And even the wives do it. They sacrifice their potential to make money and income to take care of the family. So, I mean, yeah.
Now I'm okay with it because I don't have college debt.
I have a question for her. What she said before.
Yeah, go ahead, Coco or
when
Ali.
it comes to sacrifices, and you said I have to sacrifice, and I can't go for an after party with Fresh and Fit. But for me, when you're in a relationship, when you're like into your man, you don't want to go.
I agree.
I would
So
agree,
that would not be a sacrifice. That would be your choice.
So the thing about it is, even though I am married, like I still FOMO. I'm 27 years old, and you look at the dominant narrative, and it's like I should be getting drunk in Ibiza with my girlfriends. So you get on Instagram, you're looking around, you're like, oh man, like maybe I am missing out on something. But I have to constantly remind myself in my marriage that, and also my husband helps me with this too. I'm like these people look happy. He's like, no, they're miserable. I mean, they are miserable.
Do you not go...
I hear your point there, by the way. Yeah. Because social media will basically tell you, don't be happy in your marriage. You're missing out. You should.
You know what's really interesting about this too is like, especially with the social media thing and the FOMO, bro. Like you got to remember that when you go on social media, you are seeing the highlight reels. You're seeing like the highlight reels of everybody's life. So imagine you watching a basketball game, and you watched all 4 quarters, and some parts are dull, some parts are boring, some parts are bad, whatever. And you sit through the whole game, and it's like not as like crazy as it is. But when you see the highlights, you're just seeing the extroverted top scores, the craziest things, and it's all compacted into like 2 minutes, right? So that's a lot of what I personally seen with social media is like people. They only post the things that they want you to see, which is the highlights of their life, but you don't really know what's going on. You don't really know, you don't know if they're really struggling or what if they're really broke or what if they're really like homeless or what if they're having marital problems or what if they're diagnosed with cancer, didn't tell anybody, or what if, there's so many different things. What if their dog just died, And so we're not necessarily seeing that. You're seeing the good parts when they're traveling, when they bought their new car, when they get their new house, when they're doing something fun or amazing. They're not sharing the parts of them being depressed or them being suicidal necessarily, or them, not making enough money for their home. They don't want to, nobody wants to show that. So, when it comes to social media, you got to remember that a lot of it, from my personal opinion, it's highlight reels, So there's something to chew on.
Should be in Ibiza getting drunk with all your friends right now. You're like, no, this is where I'm happiest.
Yes.
Do you not?
This is a complete hypothetical.
I know, but that situation wouldn't happen to me because like he's going to a bachelorette in 2 weeks to I don't even know where sorry. I don't know where he's going, like to Mexico or something.
But if he was hanging out with some dudes that were questionable and they were doing weird stuff, you'd be like, honey, I don't like you. Point is, you wouldn't make that request. He wouldn't make that request. No. That's off the table.
I feel like if you don't trust your partner, like, why are you with them? Nobody can make me cheat on my boyfriend if I don't want to do it. Mm-hmm. And if somebody else is cheating on their husband, boyfriend, that's not my business. Okay. Like, what am I supposed to do?
By the way, I'm not. No. I'm on Team Coco here, meaning like I've been on a million bachelor parties. If my girl wanted to go. But I do appreciate Allie's perspective saying, look, I don't even want to put myself in that position. That's a unique perspective.
Can I
I'll go during the day. Like during the day, as long as the sun is up.
Why? Because the freaks come out at night?
Exactly.
The freaks come out at night.
I got a bedtime, 9 p.m. That's your bachelorette party window. You got me from noon to 9. That's it.
We'll do one. It'll just be me and you.
I have a question. So,
they're funny.
You said you don't want to be in a situation where there's going to be what? Like, what would be, what's not allowed?
I don't want to be associated with 304s. I don't want to.
With what?
Oh, 304 hoes.
Scantily clad women.
You said 304s?
304s.
What does 304 mean?
What does that mean?
Ho.
Is that
hoes?
Is that what the number?
But why do you think
turn it upside down on the calculator?
Interesting.
Like I remember boobless. That's what I remember with the calculator. Just shout out to everyone using a calculator out there. Get your money right.
Well, why do you call your friends hoes if they go for a bachelorette party?
So, because a lot of these women that they go to these bachelorette parties, they get done up, dressed up to the nines, and they won't do the same things for their man that's at home, their boyfriend or something. So I understand you're talking about a specific class of women. And by the way, like, they're obviously the exception to the rule. I know professional feminine women. They totally exist. I get that. But most women, they use a bachelorette party as a cover-up and an excuse.
I don't agree with that because
you can just... don't look at the women that you're hanging out with. Like, they're not your average woman. Go to downtown Miami. Mm-hmm. Like, get
what do you mean by that? Because you mean they're more high-caliber women? Or that they're Miami 304s?
No. So she's talking about women that are in a higher socioeconomic status, for one. And also, they probably figured out that, it is beneficial to their job to keep up their looks as well, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
That is a specific class of woman. Okay, that's not that is not regular schmegular women. If you go to a regular, like average bachelorette party...
But do you think that your friends are regular schmegular?
By the way, I'd like everybody at home right now, if you're watching this, just say 3 times regular schmegular.
Regular schmegular. Regular schmegular.
It's a fun word to say. Right. Go ahead and do it. Yeah. And while you're at it, subscribe to Valuetainment Money. Subscribe to Valuetainment.
They got me.
We love, appreciate having you here. Like you ain't regular schmegular. You got your mind right, as you were, Allie.
No, I'm just saying I do keep my female circle small, but that's because I have specific values. I'm very family oriented. I don't want to go to the bar, and it's hard for me to come across. You and your girlfriends might be able to pull that off, but I can't. Pearl, you have the same problem, being your age, just trying to get women to go bowling.
Well, yeah, because I don't drink, and so it's like every 25-year-old I meet just wants to go to the bars. And
okay. That's just a different type of person. Like I also have a lot of friends who are just like, I mean not friends, but it's like acquaintances.
That are what?
Who are just into like chasing the party and
they ain't regular schmegular. They're looking for the party.
Yeah.
Well, I think regular girls, that's what they do, especially at 25.
By the way, there's nothing wrong with that. Go ahead and party. This, if you're 38 and still being regular schmegular, getting wasted, that you probably have a problem.
Well, I just found that I can get more done, and like, I don't know, my life got better when I stopped drinking, like a lot better.
I hear you.
And I would recommend it to anyone.
My New Year's resolution this past year was less drinking and less cursing. And I'm getting fucking wasted. I've been messing with you. I'm just kidding, right?
That's funny. Okay, that's pretty interesting. Real quick remarks. I'm going to end this because I don't even know if the live stream is working. But I find it refreshing for the girl. I don't know her name. The one who was talking about not going out to bachelor parties. I thought it was pretty cool. It's very respectable to your partner, to your husband, and it really it shows a lot and it means a lot. I guess if I was that guy, I would feel very pleased with my woman. You know what I mean? And the other girl, the one who was like the bank, I don't know what she did, but she works for herself or whatever. The classy woman. I see points of her too. She they were kind of saying the same things on some levels. Like they don't associate with certain types of people. They keep their circle somewhat small. And if they're going to go to these type of places or things, they are doing it with people that they trust would not put them in a situation. So both of them were saying somewhat of the same things. I think it's just the girl. Well, sorry. I think the girl didn't like being told, like, you know, you can't do this or you can't do that, which is understandable. But, you know, I think it's different folks, different strokes. You know what I mean? And, yeah, you know, it's just interesting. I think it's interesting to say the least. So, yeah, anyways. We're going to end this real quick. It was pretty fun. I enjoyed myself a lot. This is pretty fun doing the live streams and reacting to videos, having discussions. I think I'm going to do this more often. But I am going to do it on my other channel, my skateboarding channel, because it's on my Unpack Your Bag Podcast channel. But I am going to do it more on my other personal channel. So if you guys are interested in that, go to Tony Perks Experience. Just type it in on the YouTube search. I should be able to find it pretty easy. I'm working on building that channel up because it's more of the things I'm just personally interested in and just want to talk about with no holds bar. So yeah. So if you guys enjoy it, cool. And if you want to help, hit the little like button. But yeah, this is what we're going to do. So thanks, guys, for tuning in on this episode and this reaction. And I appreciate y'all coming on this journey. We're going to keep learning, keep growing. And until